Teacher's Pet was one of those shows that you couldn't fully appreciate unless you had the kind of mind that caught on to the subtle jokes and social commentary hidden beneath the chaos. This wasn't your average Saturday morning cartoon about a kid and his dog. This was a layered, tongue-in-cheek comedy that dared to poke fun at the very idea of what a kid's show could be. From the opening theme song alone, you could tell it was different. It had that jazzy Broadway energy mixed with clever lyrics that basically told you, this isn't going to be your standard talking animal story. The way Spot sang about wanting to be a boy wasn't just cute. It was a full-blown parody of human ambition and insecurity. This dog literally wanted to go to school, do homework, and live life like a human. And somehow, that premise managed to be both hilarious and strangely deep. You had to respect the writing team for never talking down to the audience. They gave us fast-paced jokes, double meanings, and emotional undertones all at once. You could tell the creators came from a background of witty, sitcom-style writing. They treated every line as an opportunity to either make you laugh or make you think. And then you had Nathan Lane as Spot. Man, that casting was genius. His Broadway background brought a flair and sophistication to the role that made Spot feel like a mix between a stage performer and a philosopher trapped in a dog's body. He made every line pop with charisma and neurotic energy, giving the character over-the-top charm that balanced perfectly against Leonard's more grounded personality. Leonard, the boy who owned Spot, was the perfect counterweight. He was shy, cautious, and constantly embarrassed by Spot's antics, but deep down you could tell he admired his dog's boldness. The dynamic between them was the emotional heart of the show. It wasn't just about a kid and his dog. It was about two beings trying to understand each other across completely different worlds. Leonard wanted to fit in. Spot wanted to stand out. And in that contrast, the show explored some surprisingly mature themes: identity, acceptance, and the absurdity of chasing validation. That's why Teacher's Pet hit differently for people who caught onto what it was really saying. And then you had Mrs. Helperman, Leonard's teacher, who was oblivious to the fact that Spot was literally her student's dog in disguise. Her character added another layer of irony. She represented the overly idealistic adult world that tries so hard to understand kids and pets alike, but completely misses the obvious. Her blind optimism and exaggerated enthusiasm made her the perfect satire of every well-meaning but clueless teacher trope. She loved Scott as a student, but had no idea she was literally praising a dog for good behavior and neat handwriting. Let's talk about that art style, though. Gary Baseman's designs were pure art house energy. Bold outlines, abstract faces, exaggerated limbs. It felt more like an animated painting than a typical Disney show. You could instantly tell it came from someone who valued creativity over convention. That's part of why the show didn't stick commercially. It was too visually weird for mainstream kids' TV at the time. But for those who did get it, it was beautiful. The characters looked like they stepped out of a children's storybook, illustrated by someone with a mischievous imagination. Even the color palette felt slightly offbeat, bright but intentionally imperfect, which matched the show's quirky tone. The writing didn't rely on cheap gags or gross-out humor like some of its early 2000s peers. Instead, it leaned on clever irony and satire. The jokes often commented on the very structure of cartoons, education, and human behavior itself. For example, when Spot learned human habits, he'd often overdo it, showing just how ridiculous some of our customs are when you think about them from an outsider's perspective. Like, why do humans obsess over grades, schedules, and fitting in? Why do we try so hard to act normal? The show subtly asked those questions without ever losing its sense of fun. And that theme song, that's one of the catchiest and smartest intros Disney ever had. It perfectly summed up the tone. It didn't just introduce the characters, it sold the entire concept with energy and style. This was something more eccentric. Every episode played out like a mini fable with layers of meaning. You had stories about honesty, self-image, teamwork, and even jealousy, but they were told through situations that bordered on surreal. One episode might be about Spot wanting to win an award, another about him trying to prove he's more than just a pet. Each time, it tied back to that central idea of wanting to be something you're not, and realizing that who you already are might be enough. The supporting characters added a lot too. You had Pretty Boy the Parrot and Mr. Jolly the Cat. both of whom were comedic gold. Their sarcastic back and forth gave the show that perfect balance of adult humor and cartoon chaos. Pretty Boy was loud and opinionated, while Mr. Jolly was anxious and neurotic. Basically the pet version of a comedy duo straight out of a sitcom. Their dialogue often felt like commentary on the absurdity of Spot's behavior, making them the perfect side characters to ground the show's craziness. Now, when the movie dropped in 2004, it tried to give closure to the series, but it was also proof that Teacher's Pet was built for a more thoughtful audience. The whole plot revolved around Spot actually turning human and learning that being human doesn't automatically make life better. That's a powerful message, especially for kids. It's basically saying, stop wishing you were someone else. You don't need to change everything about yourself to be happy. That's not a message you usually get from Disney films aimed at younger viewers. It's deep, philosophical, and bittersweet. The film didn't perform well financially, but critics loved it. They recognized how smart, witty, and emotionally honest it was. The humor was still there, but it leaned even harder into existential questions about identity, self-acceptance, and happiness. If you think about it, Teacher's Pet was basically a precursor to shows like BoJack Horseman or Inside Job that blend comedy with existential dread. It's wild how far ahead of its time it really was. Another thing that made it stand out was the voice cast. Nathan Lane, Kelsey Grammer, Deborah Jo Rupp, and Jerry Stiller. Come on, that's an A-list comedy lineup right there. These were seasoned pros who understood timing, emotion, and delivery. They brought an adult sensibility to the show that elevated every line. Even if you didn't get all the jokes as a kid, the performances made you feel like you were watching something special. It's also important to talk about why Teacher's Pet isn't as remembered today. It's rarely mentioned in retrospectives or nostalgia articles. It's like they quietly buried it, and that's a shame. This show deserves to be rediscovered by a new generation of fans who appreciate smart animation. There's a reason people still talk about it in online forums. It left an impression on anyone who saw it. It was the kind of show that made you think, wait, did I just watch a philosophical discussion about self-worth in a cartoon? The internet would have eaten it up. The memes, the think pieces, the fan theories, it would have thrived. It was tailor-made for today's audience that appreciates irony, satire, and self-awareness. The same weirdness that made it a tough sell in 2000 would make it a hit today. At its core, Teacher's Pet was about being misunderstood. It was about not fitting into the boxes society tries to put you in. It was about finding joy in being different and questioning what it even means to be normal. That's a timeless message, and it's something we could all use more of today. It taught kids that you don't have to be perfect or human to be valuable. You just have to be yourself. And maybe that's why it's so special. Teacher's Pet didn't chase trends or try to fit the Disney mold. It stood on its own as this weird, intelligent, heartfelt show that challenged expectations. It celebrated curiosity, creativity, and individuality in a way that no other cartoon really did at that time. It wasn't afraid to be strange, and in that strangeness, it found truth. If Disney ever decides to revive or reboot it, they've got gold on their hands. Imagine a modern version that leans into that meta, self-aware humor while exploring Spot's life as a viral celebrity dog trying to go to college. The possibilities are endless. The world's finally caught up to what Teacher's Pet was doing all along, being clever, weird, and way ahead of the curve.